racing.
Okay.
So, and let's get this. Can you add yourself?
And we are live, folks. It is starting. I'm Katie Matthews, joined today by the director of Canine Street League's Decoys, Chris Corley. We're going to be your commentators today for Trial 5 in Plant City, Florida. Our amazing host, John A9. What a facility we have. This is where we've had the last trial really well. We're super excited for today. We are up and running. There's not much of a pre-show here today, folks. What do we have today going first?
So now we have Talia and Ava walking on field, standing by at the prep line.
Got it. So, all right, took a little bit. This is how it works, folks. And we'll get you caught up to speed as we go. Obedience first. All of our handler dog teams are going to run through some very basic, that doesn't mean easy. And we'll get into a lot more detail about that as we go today. But some basic obedience behaviors. And I probably shouldn't even say basic because I have a whole soapbox about basic versus advanced. I think it's all to be advanced. And they're going to do all the obedience first. We're going to take a break. Then they come back for the bite work. So right now, Chris, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about what Talia and Ava are doing right now. What exercise is this?
So this is the four square, your basic obedience structure. Series of figure eights around the decoys who are neutral and static in their stance. This is more so to show the neutrality between the dog, the confidence, and the handling skills of the handler. From the start line to the first decoy is about 15 feet. They'll do the four square, handler will go back to the start line. That'll be the end of the first portion of the scenario. As you see on the screen, the decoys are now single stacked. This is the second portion of the obedience. Handler can choose left or right of the stack to start. They'll serpentine through, double back. As they address that start line again, it is not going to be an opportunity for them to release their dogs to kind of reset. They'll immediately turn, get back to the start line, and stand by for the judge's directions, where the handler will either sit or down their dog, disconnect their line, and then stand by for the judge to clear them to step off and step away from their dog. There's going to be a position cone 15 feet behind the last decoy that the handler is going to address, and then wait for the judges to clear them to recall. As the handler recalls, my apologies, the stack will split. First and third decoy go left, second and fourth decoy go right. What we're looking for is that dog to go straight shot down the center and recall to the handler.
Did you get all of that? Don't worry if you didn't, because this is going to be happening 10 to 15 times with all of our entries. And each time we go through a dog and handler team, will be able to give you a little bit more insight on what's going on. And that's a big part of these broadcasts is people who know what's going on are going to be watching the screen up top. There we go. There's a split. Beautiful recall. Beautiful recall. The finishing position's a little bit off. They might get dinged for that. But what's going to happen is people who know what's going on, who are familiar with this, they're not watching this camera. They're watching that feed. They already know what they're looking at. What Chris and I are really working on doing for all of you is if you're not quite sure, you're not exactly sure on what's happening or why this is happening. Did the dog do good? Did the dog do not so good? And we can provide you that context. Now, I got to say, watching Ava go through this heel, it looked good. It absolutely looked good. This is a 4.5-year-old dog. Talia and Ava, they come from Brooklyn.
Yeah, originated from New York, yeah.
And this is her first dog that is relevant. That's absolutely relevant. They did a wonderful job. And, that's another thing I love about Street League events is the crowd.
Love it. All of time, it's electrifying. I mean, it's free for anybody to attend. This gives an opportunity for anybody who's local within the region that really wants to get that first person view of what we do here. It's an event in itself. We don't even treat it like a trial. We have vendors out here, other local trainers, breeders, so on and so forth, and then You'll hear here soon. We have DJs on site ready to pump music. Keep the beat, keep the life of this event going. So
I think it's really, and we anyone who's watched the other feeds or the other trials will know what I'm talking about when I say this, Kristen. That is, these are Canyon Street League is about events. Yes, this is a trial, and people see this to a degree as a trial. But I always like to say,
I was just trying
yeah,
not to.
there's a trial taking place
Yeah.
at the event.
I was like,
Th-
I got you.
100%.
Like this is an
I don't want
event
to be
from
behind
our,
Rich.
our DJs to all of our
A
vendors
nice
to all of
Astra.
our spectators. It's an event that a trial is taking place at. Very welcoming. It's one of the things that I've loved about participating in these events is that it's unlike any other sporting dog with bite work anyway that I've been to with the crowd. It's super welcoming. It's not cliquey. I mean, every trial we have, there are newbies. There are people who like don't really know what's going on, and they're like, yeah, I don't have a dog. I don't know what's happening, but this looks cool. I remember in particular at our Los Angeles trial. Our Los Angeles trial was very unique in in many ways that I can't say on a PG rated broadcast due to some things at the location. It was LA. Use your imagination. There was stuff going on. But
very diverse.
What made that trial unique, that event unique, was we had a lot of street traffic passerbys, like people who were in the parking lot. They didn't come for the event, but they saw it and they were like beckoned in or they came curious. And the cool thing was watching that and seeing how welcoming the spectators and the crowd and the community was to people who had no idea what's going on.
We had a group of individuals. There was a like a commercial building behind the field that we were working at. They pulled back their covering, their soft covering for the fence, and set up chairs to watch the LA event, which was pretty cool. And they were like one of the biggest fans for it, clapping for every hammer that went through. It was great.
Yep. And for those of you who have been to a number of trials or been to a diverse assortment of like bite work type trials, you know that's not always the case. In any community, not just dogs, in any community, you can get clicks, and it's because there's humans involved and just the culture of things, and it happens. I haven't seen that yet, and we've got 5 events. Every single one has been incredibly supportive. Zero crowd or spectator issues. It's one of the reasons why I'm here to stay and why I really, really enjoy Street League. It brings new people into the sport.
100%. And wouldn't be Street League without you commentating, Cody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I almost wasn't, like, I was worried about this trial because I had called you. I had gotten that freaking plague that has been going around. I was sick for the entire month of January.
It was sketchy for a second.
And then when it got down to like almost even a week ago, for the last 2 weeks, I was losing my voice.
But it gave you a good season on your voice, though. You know?
I like that. My voice is seasoned now.
It's seasoned.
I like him. I like him.
Drop your comments below.
Yes.
Tell us what you think about Katie's new voice.
My voice is rather seasoned for you all right now. It's interesting because I lost my puppy voice. So like I was working with a client and I went to do my little, like you talk how silly to a puppy. I don't have that back, so I won't be able to puppy talk you today at all.
That's good. That's fine.
But I do not think our next team that's coming up to the line right now needs that puppy talk. Who do we have right now?
We have Jean and KK coming from Mexico, Peck Gym, Central America, flew all the way up. It's crazy, guys. We got clubs from Canada down to the southern tip of South America, Europe, Spain. So as the sports grow, we're going to see competitors travel cross country, in and out of our country, internationally, to attend these trials. So Gene is a pretty well-rounded trainer. He runs his company out of Mexico City, Peck Gym. So he's been out here all week, running through some dry runs and honing his craft to see what he can do, and hopefully he'll make it to the pedestal at the end of this trial.
I believe that dog's name is KK.
KK. Very dense ducky, let me tell you that.
Interesting. Like, I have the dog's name tattooed right here. Check that out.
Fan?
I'm a fan. Not
Yeah.
really, but how convenient is that?
Fan growing it up?
I'm fangirling it up for KK right now. Got the tattoo. So here's a little bit more about these first obedience scenarios. And it should be pointed out, this is the...
This is EL, correct.
So this is our entry level. Oftentimes you'll see it referred to as the EL. And several things about that. One, this is Gina's in all of our handlers, the dog is on leash. So as they're moving through these obedience scenarios, the dog is on leash the entire time. If you know, dog got a little distracted on that final turn. So here's the thing about being on leash, though, is because there's a leash involved, there's rules that go along with that, meaning there can't be tension in that leash.
No, sir.
And Chris, I'm going to be leaning on you a lot today when it comes to the rules.
Okay.
And helping us interpret what the judges are looking for.
Good to go.
That's my admitted weak area with this is the scoring and whatnot. So help us out here. Entry level, they're going through the figure eight, and the dog goes a little wide and hits the end of the leash. How are the judges going to view that? What's going through the judge's mind?
So if it's the input, if the draw of the leash is coming from the dog, they're more likely to shave a point, shave points, referring to the heel standard that you have. What they want is consistency in the gap in the space between the dog and the handler.
Okay, go unleash your dog.
And then the dog needs to remain centered inside the heel so they're not forging or gathering behind as that handler is navigating through those decoys. If the handler now provides that input, depending on the intensity of it, it can be deemed as a correction. And if there's any corrections on the field, verbal or mechanical, physical, then it's immediate DQ. So when you're training for this is something to, one, build a lot of neutrality, free shape, layer your heel, and really build an independent dog that is super focused with the task that he's given and not drawn by any stimulus outside of them and the handle.
Right, they have completed. Gorgeous head on that dog. Beautiful. I tell you, I've been dealing with dogs since 1994, and I still, to this day, have not lost my sincere enjoyment of looking at a gorgeous dog.
Right.
Now, I enjoy the training, obviously. I still am infatuated with canis familiaris with the dog. So, when I see dogs walk by, I'm like, man, that's a gorgeous dog. That's a pretty dog. Look at that dog's head. Look at that dog. I haven't lost that, and I hope I never do. And it's interesting because, as you know, I do a lot of work and even increasing work with dog trainers in my business.
100%.
And one of the things I work on with dog trainers is helping them manage and prevent burnout, which is an incredibly huge issue in this field. And one of the reasons why I love doing that is I'm going to tell you a little story. I remember, 15 years ago when dogs were part-time for me, as I was having other various instructional and training jobs, go figure. I was a public school teacher, I was a corporate consultant, manager, trainer, all that.
That's why you speak so good on camera.
That's it. Dogs were the other thing I did. And I remember one time I was with a trainer that I was, apprenticing under, you could say. I was learning from them. And I remember we were in Ybor City, just hanging out, actually, socially. And I'll never forget this. A Boerboel walked by, a South African Boerboel. And the dog walked by, and I caught my eye, and I said to this individual, I said, oh my gosh, that is a gorgeous animal. Gorgeous. And his response was, oh, look at him. Look how nervy he is, and look how scared he is. And he started looking at the behavior of the dog and criticizing this. And it was very salty, and it was very, almost like bitter. And I'll never forget that, because I said to myself, I never want to be like that. I never want to lose my love of these animals. And like, I don't care what his temperament is in this moment. I'm looking at a gorgeous dog. Can't I just admire how gorgeous he is? And that's one of the things I love about these events is getting to see these dogs. Case in point, we have actually one of our
Street
League decoys out here right now.
Jordan and Atlas.
Yes. So Jordan Henderson, really interesting dude. And we'll talk more about him when he's decoying. I really like during the bite work to spend a little extra time on our decoys. But right now, Jordan is handling Atlas, and I love. Here we go, like talking about admiring a gorgeous animal. I love that coat.
Beautiful.
I love that coat.
Nice dark.
Would you call that a sable? Even, kind of. If it was a shepherd, we'd call it a sable, but it's a Belgian Malinois, so we don't really say that. Jordan doing his figure eights right now.
Just loving it. You just always see it.
So as you're watching the feed and you're watching the dogs and listening to us, things that you can be looking for if you want to learn, if you want to understand more. Through these exercises, being that it's entry level, you want to look at things like the slack in the leash.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you wonderfully explained the idea of, I really like how you worded that, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
If there's tension in the leash, it's where did that tension come from? Meaning, did it come from the dog doing a behavior, the dog moving to the end of the leash, or did the tension come from something the handler did? Now, neither one are going to be good, but that's something you're going to want to watch if you want to learn. You're going to want to look and see how focused is the dog. If the dog starts losing focus, that would be the dog is going to put tension in that leash because they're not keeping up with the movement of the handler. Here comes the recall.
Out wide left. Good speed.
Look at that
Good initiative.
finish.
Yeah, very clean finish. There is going to be there's going to be some points removed
From going around
on the left-hand side. What they're looking like is that straight shot through the decoys. It's a lot of, if you figure it, like it's a lot of mental pressure for that dog to, one, run through there, not be enticed to bite the biggest tug toy that they'll ever see. But the spatial pressure that they'll get from it. The decoys are taking a natural gait, like a natural step. So we're not doing like over-exaggerated wide steps. When you train for this is something that the tighter the corridor, the better it will be for the dog's overall optic, in a sense, for this trial portion of it.
Our crowd giving a well-deserved round of applause. I hope, and I don't know as I look around, okay, we do have one of our media team over here. I really hope they got a picture of the finish on that recall.
It was very clean. Swung right into a heel, back end went down, waiting for the handler to do the next step.
The finished position on that was about as picture perfect as you can get. As the dog comes in, flips, first off,
it's like a drift.
Flips. You know what I like, that's a side note, and dog gave a little bump. You see that?
Let them know.
You see that? And a lot of dogs will do that, folks, especially when they're super fired up and they love what they're doing. And all these dogs love what they're doing because, one, they were bred for it, and two, the relationships they have with their handlers and the training. And I don't care. I really don't care what other individuals out there in social media world say. Like, these dogs love this. They cannot perform like this if they don't enjoy it. They cannot perform like this if they do not have a functional relationship with their dog. Are we talking to our judge up here? And that's something I have to make sure we pay attention to is the other feed. And if their judge is talking, I want to shut up.
So you guys to be able to hear the context of what they're speaking.
I don't think they are. So I'll finish. Is seeing that dog come in, boom, blast the handler, and then the flip. And the one really nice, the beautiful thing about that, and that's what I was saying, I hope someone got Atlas on camera, was when that dog finished, he was perfectly parallel, no 45-degree angle, no issues there. The positioning was perfect, and I love so the torso is straight, but the head is cocked and up as it's like totally checked in with that handler. All right, next team is up.
We have Trissy and we have Finnick stepping on the field. Beautiful Malinois. Standing by on the prep line. Judge is about to clear them to step to the start line.
Now, I will say this, Tressy is not a rookie. All right. This is a very seasoned and experienced handler. In particular, with this dog. They've been a team for 7 years, her and this dog. And they've been competing for 5 of those years.
Awesome.
So
Look at that.
that is what we would say is a seasoned team. So we have a seasoned handler, because this is not her, right? And a seasoned team.
See the inner focus that the dog is providing the handler? We are getting that on the feet. Awesome.
Yep.
The dog is pretty much like self-regulating his heel. If he gets a little bit too far forward, you see the little nice little bunny hops that are happening.
Yeah, that's a very good. That's a beautiful heel.
Very lax on the leash. The leash has very minimal input.
None.
None.
There's none. There's absolutely none.
Competitors can choose between a 4 to 6 foot leash. I prefer a 6, so you can give yourself a little bit of extra slack on your drop, your loop, as a buffer. God forbid the dog forges or gathers, it's not going to be deemed as a correction or tense line where you're going to get points deduction. Not one time had she looked at it.
That's a seasoned
I'm going to be
handler
giving
tip.
you guys tips all week, or all day, excuse me. Head up, confident in her stride. Not one time did she look down at her dog. Dog is continuously looking up at the handler. Nice, confident, like full steps, good stride.
All right. So this is a good example for those of you watching of what, when you see a seasoned handler, never mind seasoned team, but the handler is experienced. If you'll notice her pace, if you notice you can see it through here if you know what you're looking at. The energy that she is giving off is super smooth, confident. And one of the things that when you are handling a dog, especially at an event or at, anything like this is, and I say this honestly to my pet dog clients, like when you go out into the real world, what are you thinking? And what you should be thinking is that the dog's going to do it. Not, I hope he does it. Will he do it? I don't know. But in your mind, you're actually visual. Of course, the dog's going to do it. And you can see that with Tressie and how she carries herself, is that in her mind, well, yeah, the dog's going to do it. And that's where you see the calm demeanor. She's not thinking about, well, what if he does it?
Straight.
Look at that recall. Yeah.
Let's see the finish.
And this is why she can be so confident with this dog. Like, that was textbook perfect.
That was awesome.
This is going to be a tough team to beat.
As you said, with the kinetic nature of dogs, they read your body language. They know what you're thinking, even if you try to shield it or throw a curtain in front of it. And that imposter syndrome that you may dabble in, dwell in with your dog, the ifs and the buts and the I shoulda, coulda, woulda done this. Step onto the field. What is done is done. What you know is what you know. Enjoy the time out here, and you'll be surprised. Allow your dog to carry you through the lulls that you may not feel that you can, and you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish when you step onto the trial field. Get out of your head and enjoy yourself.
That requires trust. And so many times people talk about that's a well-deserved round of applause. People talk about trust in dog and human relationships, but typically people talk a lot about the dog trusting the human, which is important. I'm going to put out there, how about the human trusting the dog?
Yeah.
And so many behavioral problems with a dog can absolutely come from the handler not trusting in their dog. And when I say not trusting the dog, I don't mean that they're afraid the dog's going to bite them or something. That's a whole separate subject. But it's what I was saying about not thinking, will he do it? I hope he does it. Yeah, like you watch Tressie.
It's not even him. We're going to do it.
Yes. Trusting in what your dog is going to do, and they're going to do the right thing. And I'll present a slightly different perspective / way to articulate something you said.
Okay.
And just as a different way to look at it. I tell people dogs don't know what you're thinking, but they know how you feel. They know how you feel more than you're willing to admit how you feel. Whether you know how you feel, for those who are maybe even emotionally intelligent enough to know how they feel, but they don't want to admit it. Dogs know how you feel about it. So a dog, in this scenario, in this context, the dog might not know that the handler is thinking the dog's going to mess up, but the dog will be able to perceive how the handler feels about that thought. If that
it does.
makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So if a handler is thinking, oh no, oh no, oh no, the dog doesn't know that the handler is saying, oh no, oh no, oh no. The dog's not saying, why don't you believe in me? What the dog is sensing is the emotional reaction to that thought,
Yeah.
which is going to be expressed via hormonal activity with pheromones and cortisol, adrenaline, all of those things. It's going to be impacted by body language. All of that comes from how you feel. So I like to explain it as they know how you feel. They absolutely know how you feel. You can't fake how you feel.
And it goes into training too, and you understand that, Katie, as long as you've been inside this. Like if you're not in the right headspace, if it's a tough morning, a tough day, this goes out to any trainer, any pet owner in a sense. It's better. No work is better than bad work. And if you try to force bad work on a dog, it's going to be terrible of a training session. It could be a training session. It could be a bond. It could be whatever it may be. There's a baseline of custody and care and husbandry for your dog. But at the end of the day, it's better for you to kind of like hang the hat up, maybe take an extra hour, get an extra cup of coffee, right? Take a couple of deep breaths, throw on the music that kind of soothes you and calms you. All 80%, just got a DQ.
All right.
We'll break this down here in a second, guys.
So what we just had was Adam and Archer stepped up to the line. And actually what just happened, interestingly enough, happened to me. The first time I ever trialed back in.
Gave a knee check on the correction, gave a leash pop, and he also gave a verbal no. You're out of here. Sorry.
So we'll get clarification here in a second.
A verbal no.
All right, so that
So it was a verbal no.
okay, that didn't happen to me. I'll double clarify. I didn't realize what had actually happened.
Okay. It was a verbal. The handler Adam provided a verbal correction, no, and then there was a leash pop to catch the dog. The dog was vocal on the line. So verbal no, and then
You guys gave a knee check.
Yep.
Gave a leash pop and a verbal no.
and then the verbal no followed on the line. And then with the reactivity on the line with the judge,
That was a moot point.
Yeah,
but that would have been a default. Okay,
Got
good
it.
to go.
All right. We'll clarify that again for you. So, and we were talking, I was watching Adam and Archer as they were walking up. So there were a couple things that happened here. So officially, it's going to be a DQ due to a correction being given. And there was actually several corrections given. First thing that's going to key the judges in is there was a deliberate knee bump from the handler. So the handler aware that his dog, and all of this comes from how they entered the field. So the handler recognized that his dog was not in the state of mind that he wanted him to be in and that he was going to need him to be in to be successful. At that point, unfortunately, though, the handler made a mistake by giving input to the dog to try to deal with that. The input he gave him was a correction. So the knee bump could be considered a correction. But even if that didn't happen, when he got to the starting line, he gave a verbal correction. There was an absolute distinguishable verbal correction right there. That's DQ. And then that was followed by a very subtle but clear and distinguishable leash pop, which is a correction.
Yeah.
So there was 3 elements that took place.
And that was all handler driven.
Yes.
The dog itself was reactive on the prep line, which would have been a DQ in itself.
Yes.
That was on the dog.
So, and that's what at first I was seeing when I said, oh, that happened to me, was I remember my first trial, 2003.
What sport?
That was PSA.
PSA.
Way
Young in the sport. That was, his sport was young.
I trialed under Joe Morris, yeah. Rest in peace.
Awesome.
I walked up to the line, completely dog under control. However, my dog looked at the steward, and the steward was making some extended eye contact. That's all I'm going to say. We're not going to go there. But needless to say, my dog started getting very upset and angry. And he started low grumbling. At that point, I made the decision. I looked to the judge. I looked to Joe. And I said, and I pulled my dog from the line because I recognized my dog. And I know my dog. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. He's probably going to go after the steward as soon as we get a chance. So I had thought that's what happened. That did not happen in this situation. However, if those corrections did not happen here, they still would have been, according to our judge, Rich, they would have been DQ'd due to the behavior of the dog at the line.
So right now we have Veronica and Wafer. on the line. They're coming from California. They're part of Mike Jones's Street League club.
Now, I have watched this team compete, train, mock trials. I've
She
seen
took
them.
the mock trial. She
Yeah.
won the mock trial in
Yeah,
California.
and I have enjoyed this team immensely. And anybody who has not met Veronica, you are missing out. I watched Veronica go through some of the decoy cert
She
that time out.
and it
in
was at the
California.
Frights and Bites. No,
No, it was
So she did it in California, but then we had the Frights and Bites seminar here in Florida, and she went through it.
for fun. Because the one I saw her at was in California, and she just completely volunteered to just go out and do it for fun, and she was outperforming. She was outperforming the decoy. She was like physically amazing.
She snagged a decoy working spot for the Frights and Bites in Florida, and
Okay.
she went through the whole evolution, the full 3 days of that. And I mean, let me tell you, she was, aside from wearing a suit that was probably twice her size.
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
some solid work in. Look at that heel. Now, Wafer was a initial raisin train that Veronica contracted Mike to complete, and then she did, and she has been doing all the finishing work on Wafer. And look at that contact heel. Look at that contact heel.
I think it's safe to say that so far today, it's probably going to be our more aesthetically pleasing, pretty to look at, fancy, polished heel. I mean, and Wafer's an amazing dog.
Little pocket rock.
Yeah. And he's an example of these Malinois who people who don't understand what's going on will look at the size of the animal and they'll be like, oh, well, that's a small dog. What's that going to do? Like, what that's going to do? Okay, so this is where the term fur missile comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure we're even going to see it on this recall.
So we got a right side. Nice front center, which is good, which is acceptable within the trial. That's actually going to give you a couple of points of added points for finishing front center and then calling into a recall. Then calling into your heel side.
I cringed a little bit based on where that dog passed.
That was a good tactic.
I think it's good that was a her and not a him, because it's just some like anatomy, folks. Like that.
This is biology 101.
See that big D ring on that collar? You don't want that hitting your crotch, fellas. I'm telling you.
Bad day. Bad
Look
week.
at that heel. Goodness gracious.
Head position is clean. Contact on the.
Yeah, round of applause for this
Phenomenal
dude.
job. Phenomenal job. Awesome. And then even finishing, like some of these competitors are clearing the field in behavior, not even checking out until they step off the field,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal.
Now, one thing in particular that's really impressive about her heel with Wafer is that he's not bumping her. Like some dogs you'll see they'll have that pretty form, but the dog is sometimes like struggling to find where to be. And what the dog will often do is they'll bump in almost as a way of checking in, like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Which is why I find that impressive for two reasons. One, the dog's head position, he's not looking this way. And there's different ways you can teach a heel. Like there's different head positions, and different sports, I believe, do favor
A certain anatomy of the heel.
Really?
Yeah,
doesn't care about head position.
you get a point bump. So if you have
so you get it added,
if
not
you
a
get a focused heel, you get 10 points to start with the focused heel. Now, as you go through your sequence, depending on what it is, you'll have any allotted point deductions, but it's actually a cheat code, a constructed cheat code within it, along with that front finish.
All right, so let me ask you this then. When we're talking about an attention heel or a focus heel, are they going to be scored differently based on the angle of it? Meaning, in clarifying for those watching, because a dog can do dog head, right? The dog can do this,
Head up,
or the dog can do at an angle to the body.
Like a peripheral heel or like a total.
Is Street League care between either one, or is it a focus heel is a focus heel?
Focus heel is a focus heel. Now, obviously, like you're going to get a little bit more brownie points with the crowd and your finish. Like with Wafer, for example, like his heel is 100% dedicated on that handler. He's not looking down where he's going. He is trusting that Veronica is going to lead him where he needs to go. And that's that kind of like lean to where his head is resting on Veronica's hip throughout the whole time while clearing a nice, consistent, good stride. Strong chest position on the dog in itself. So there's not necessarily a finite preferred head position. A focus heel is a focus.
Focus heel. Got it. And I asked that, and possibly for some people watching, they are familiar with different organizations, have different rules. They have different preferences on some of those little nuances and some of those little details.
If the thing with Street League is we judge you on what you present. So if you have a natural heel, like as we see here with Jillian and Mayhem, the dogs. Now I'm assuming she'll probably finish it one. Like it might turn into a focus heel at the start line. But if you have a natural heel, dog stays consistent within its pace, then you'll be judged as such. The tighter you get, the more finesse that you add, you are going to be under a tighter microscope. But it definitely gives you a leg up in the competition.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
So right now we do have Jillian Vogel and Mayhem. Again, a seasoned team. Mayhem is 7.5 years old, actively competing in PSA, working to achieve the PSA 2 this year. He also, this was interesting, he earned his French ring brevet last year, and she does scent work with him. So, like,
she competed last year.
They're active. Yeah, she was at the fifth shot. Yep. Now, I do know Jillian is a dog trainer, so this isn't just a hobby or fun thing for her. She runs a dog training business a little south of here. I can't remember exactly where, but like an hour, 2 hours south. So this is an example of what I was saying with the dog has an angled presentation of the head.
And you'll see a lot of these competitors will have left side heel. We do adjust the trial field for any right side heels. You don't always have to have a prominent left side heel to attend a trial, to trial your dog in itself. It's a very fluid platform right now.
So right now, what would be, I'm interested in seeing, and I'm watching, and if you're watching above, you'll want to keep an eye on Jillian's leash hand. Here's why. That dog's forging a little bit, not right this second, but I notice on the initiation of movement, he kind of lunges. He's excited to go. So good handling would be, let me let a little bit of slack. He's not going anywhere. She knows he's not going anywhere. He's not going to blow off the command. He's going to do it. But some of these little movements that he's making, good handling, savvy, smart handling would be to make sure maybe I'm going to let a little bit more leash out so that I do not have a situation where the dog hits the end. Listen, she's not going to correct that dog. She knows she's too experienced to make that mistake. However, the dog could hit the end and cause a deduction. So smart handling is let me let a little bit more leash out. So it'll be less points deducted if the dog just happens to forge for a fraction of a second and then comes back. Let's check out this recall right through the middle.
Right into the heel position.
Beautiful finish. Versus hitting the end of the leash.
Yeah. 100%. It's a little bit of trial trickery, right? Like know where you can gain points, know where you can constructively shape points, and maybe that gray area in between, right?
And that comes with experience.
It does,
and like
100%.
I said, Jillian's not a newbie to this. She is actively participating in a variety of events too with her dog. And I think that's important too, because you get that experience that helps with the nerves. You get that experience that helps with all of the feelings of stepping on, as someone who has stepped out on that field, I can tell you, like, you get a rush. You get one heck of a rush. And because Jillian is so active and does so many things, she gets to deal with that herself. So she's building trust in herself. She knows how to maintain composure. I think a really great example of that, and I'm going to go back and give them another shout out, was watching Tressie earlier. Like that, again, that's another example of a seasoned handler, how they move, the energy they carry, the things they do. Now her dog was so well, she didn't have to worry about any of that. But it's in the energy, it's in the presentation that the handler gives to the dog. Because let's face it, when you got a dog looking at you, they're wanting to know what's going on with you. Like they're wanting to know how you feel, and then that's going to influence their behavior and their energy as well.
You got to think with training is training. Trial picture is going to be totally different. What a lot of these well-seasoned, well-rounded, versatile handlers are doing is the sequence starts when they retrieve their dog from the vehicle, from the kennel. They're not starting when they step at the field. They're starting from the first initiation and contact with their dog. So if you can develop your trial structure, you're pretty much building a fuse that you're going to burn, in a sense, when you go through your sequence. And the longer and the sooner
That analogy.
you like that?
I like that analogy a lot.
So the longer your fuse, the more of a buffer you have. If you cut it short in the beginning, you're not going to have a lot at the end. So you should start your training sequence from the vehicle, the kennel, the trailer, whatever may have you, and start your structure and expectation and the standard of what you want to see from your dog from the first initiation to the prep box, from the prep box onto the field, to the start line, to the sequence, back, and exit. That's how it should be. And that way, your dog has clear expectations, because popping your dog out of a car to play ball and do that relentlessly and then come here to trial to pop him out, he doesn't know they're stepping into trial. I mean, we got to give dogs more credit.
Yep.
But if your structure is structure and the payment is layered within your interaction, then if the expectation is tight from the beginning, you're not going to have an issue throughout trial when you step onto the field.
All right, we have our next team coming out. We have Daniel and Nitro. Nitro is a German Shepherd Malinois cross, actually. Trained obedience. They do scent work. They do PSA. Daniel's a Navy veteran and a Florida native. All right, so we are at the line. Gorgeous dog, by the way. Gorgeous dog.
I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they're all gorgeous. If you like dogs, you're going to find something cool about each and every one of them.
And watch this leash as we go through. Gotten close to being taught as we go through.
So right now, what he would want to
dog, non-handler on that.
That's going to be. I'm going to be very curious as to what the judges say about that, because the dog is putting space. The dog is creating space. The dog is creating tension. What matters is what Daniel's left arm does. What really matters, because it's one thing if that dog hits the end. As a handler, you have to make sure you do not reflexively do anything back, because if you reflexively do something back,
It's deemed a correct.
it's going to be a correction.
And even with the verbal reprimands with things, in the trial, it's better to repeat a command and get a point shaven than it is to give a verbal correction.
You'll be, yeah, because you're done at that point.
You can layer as many reissuing a command as you need. Understand that there's a point standard within the sequence.
Nitro's doing a lot of sniffing.
Yeah, very curious.
A lot of sniffing right there. Look at him really
You can
checking
tell
it.
Daniel's very aware of
Yeah.
his.
So this is where handling is going to be so important. Daniel has to keep his composure. He has to maintain, like, I'm here, we're going to do this. Like, we just have to get through this and not lose it, not accident. The big thing is not getting a correction, because it's so instinctive. Because when you train, you're constantly communicating with your dog. And right now, the only communication is the issuance of a command. The dog is up. So right now we have an issue.
We're creeping a little bit to see if he settles. He's probably not.
Now, he could give another
He
command
could
right
right now. So the dog's settling. So the issue was, as the handler's back was to the dog was creeping, right, which is common in certain things. As soon as the handler turned around, the dog settled himself. He did a roundabout around the handler, and he's sitting in front, so there's going to be points deducted for the finish, and then point in the beginning of the scenario
for the creeping.
for the creeping off the line.
Now, let me ask you again, just to confirm for people watching so we can learn from this. If Daniel, as he's walking out, if he turns and looks over his shoulder and he sees the dog creeping, which, in terms of the scorecard, is he going to want to just let the dog creep a little bit, or is he going to want to reissue a command?
So it depends. If you feel like the dog will settle itself, and it's not going to be as deep as I believe, not as deep as a point deduction, because you're not providing any input to the dog. If it was me, and I knew that my dog would potentially creep, then I would turn around halfway. I'll take the point deduction deliberately and catch the dog before and solidify the expectation of what I want to see in the dog. So I'll go halfway through, and I don't even need to turn my back. I'll say, sits, or butts, and just to let the dog understand, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Obviously, the more confident you are, if you don't turn your back and look at the dog, bravo, right? We understand the context of your body language. Some handlers will do like a shoulder check. Some can turn around. Just understand that the optic of it is going to be subjective to what the trial judge within the line of the expectations of the handler, what they deem that they're going to point the dust. Even as you step off, you can just do initiation. As the judge gives you the clearance to step away from the dog, reissue the other command again. Flats or down or stay or whatever may happen. But it was definitely because the handler's back was turned.
Yeah, because as soon as he came to the finish and turned, the dog immediately went into a rather pretty sit.
So when you're training evolutions at home, you work frontal, you can work bladed, and then you can have your back to the dog to make sure that the dog is following through, regardless with your visual attention.
He didn't DQ.
Sit is sit, down is down.
Yeah.
Go to get more judges here.
Those slight inconsistencies with name, commands change from appeal to let's go. It's going to help on checking about some of the decoys.
But there you heard it from one of our judges. I wasn't able to hear everything, but I hope you did.
And if you didn't, please leave a comment on the bottom and we'll get back to it and address it.
So in this, there's two things going on. There's the training. Now, listen, I don't care what the context is, whether it's dog training, a trial, whether you're in martial arts, whether you're in a basket weaving competition. There's a lesson that, I learned many years ago in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when I started competing, you either leave with a trophy or a lesson. And that idea is simply that there's always something to learn. So let's say you do not perform to the level you want. Let's say you're aspiring to get a trophy, you're aspiring for a certain place, and you don't get it. You lose, or however you want to see it. Don't look at it that way. What did you learn? So you were gifted a lesson.
Well, that goes into the ego. If you feel like you lost, that's your ego speaking.
Yep. Instead of saying, okay, I just learned some things I can work on.
It's a win-win.
I just learned, and every lesson is an opportunity to improve your life, improve everything going on with you. So, that whole idea that you need to carry that with you when you step out in the field, because it potentially can lower your anxiety. And hey, listen, I'm out here to
Namaste.
Have fun with your dog. And that's one of the cool things about Street League is this continual emphasis of having fun with your dog. And I think right now we're going to see some more fun with a dog. We have Maddie and Rocky. And interestingly enough, they started their training at South Bay Mountain Law. Shout out to South Bay. In California, now they're in New Hampshire. Maddie just started handling Rocky in October of 24. Let's take a look at this.
It's good so far. Rocky's
You've seen Rocky before. Rocky was handled by someone Street League
Christian Duran.
I remember meeting them out at the San Diego trial.
Finished the four square. Now they're going into their single stack circuit team. And then for you guys back at home, South Bay Malinois, Psych and Mongol are the only handler that has a level 1 title.
Yeah.
Right at this moment.
Yeah, that's a power team right there.
It's a power team. And for everybody at home, we're ultimately going to be building, we have the books built up to a level 5. It's going to get crazy,
Yeah.
Katie. It's going to get, listen.
I can't imagine.
Job security for you, my friend. Job security for you.
All right, so here we go, getting ready to do the recall. Now, one thing I haven't gotten a chance to say yet today, and I say it every trial, is I love this recall, this scenario. I love the added element of the decoy movement, right? So as she walks out, she goes to take her position, and you guys have seen it in all of the other dogs that have gone by today. She gets out to her position. All of our decoys are standing single file. And once she gives the command, which is about to come, Rocky, So we have
So
all right, good.
second command, but confident in that. Let's see. Wide on the return, forward on the position, slightly angled. Gonna get probably a few points, 2 to 3 points on the
But she
defensive.
could have lost more had she completely lost it. And it's really interesting, like watching her face as the wheels were spinning, right? She's thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm glad she didn't give a verbal
Yeah,
correction.
no
She didn't get
flustered.
flustered. She pulled it together.
Smile on her face.
Yep.
Look at her.
Yeah, that's what's important. She gave the command, and what did the dog do? The dog completed the behavior. Just needed that moment, needed that repeat. So yeah, she'll take a point deduction. I'll take a point deduction over a DQ any day.
100%. And even then, understand the time, right? The time between your commands. Sometimes giving your dog a moment to like comprehend what you're saying. People tend to rush to give the command again. It's like if it's not instantaneous, then they're right back on it. Here, right? If you wait 2 or 3 seconds, that's going to be well within the range of the judge. Like, okay, kind of letting your dog actively think through the command to follow through. So they did very well.
Did we see Rocky? Rocky competed at San Diego, didn't he?
I think he
I'm
did.
not 100% sure.
We got to verify. We'll verify and get back to you, but I think he did. I think Christian and Rocky competed.
I like this song, by the way. It's kind of.
I don't know if you guys can hear this. We're jamming out all day here.
We have a DJ.
No big deal.
Good music. I can't dance, but doesn't mean I won't like
Shoulders
tap
up,
my foot and.
I can dance from the shoulders up. Lower legs, don't ask for them. Terrible. I'm a dog trainer, not a dancer.
All right, so hopping on the field now is, and if you follow dog sports, you follow dog training, you're going to recognize this team. We have Bebo Santana and Shaka. Listen, when we talk about seasoned handlers and seasoned handler dog teams, this is kind of the example, right? It doesn't get really more. I think this is probably the biggest resume on a dog that we have today.
Do you have enough paper?
I have a paragraph. So Shaka's a KJ MPC certified dog, active sheriff's canine, holds a PSA 2, a French wait.
Ring 3, yes, ring 3.
This dog has a ring 3.
So if I may, for decoys out there, we can anticipate that this dog is going to go heavy on targeting on lower legs. So you'll see the fun.
I'm not done yet, by the way.
I digress.
Ring 3 was the 2021 NARA Cup champion at Ring 2. Like, everywhere this dog goes, he wins. Everywhere this dog goes, he's doing incredible performance. Look at this heel.
Very intuitive.
I don't even want to talk, even though I'm supposed to.
It's been a good finish. I like the
Look how smooth they are.
There's no rush. He knows this. He knows his rhythm and routine. Dog has been eating off of the left leg.
And as much as we're talking about how seasoned this dog is, the handler is pretty dang seasoned too. Listen, Bebo is well known in the Malinois world. He's a breeder, he's a trainer, he's a handler. Decades of handling experience in the working dog world. Also a very established breeder of DSWK Doof. I can't pronounce it, but if you know Bebo, you know how to pronounce it. A kennel, his family has been, not just him, his family has been breeding and producing working Malinois for years.
Originated in Puerto Rico. His mother has a deep-rooted, established breeding program in Puerto Rico, and then he has laid that within the continental United States
Bebo's,
and abroad.
He's a French ring decoy. He's a sheriff deputy canine handler. He's actually one of our newer judges for Canine Street League itself. Mm-hmm. So that's why you've seen him on the field all day judging. This is experience. You're observing experience in training. You're observing experience in handling, and you're just observing experience in dogs.
Very confident. Left side return, slight point deduction, but really nice finish.
Yeah, the mechanics of the dog and the behavior is fine. As far as that's a scenario-based point deduction, and that the dog needs to go through to get full credit.
But integrity overall.
Yep. Look at that.
looking forward to seeing this dog do bite work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, every dog.
That's an understatement. It's fun with all the dogs. I really, really like. First off, folks, Shaka is not a small Malinois. Like that is a well built
You
dog.
run your hand along the side of that dog, you probably will cut your fingers as diamond cut as that dog is.
Yeah, the musculature on that animal is absolutely impressive. And as you were mentioning before, is like how people enter and leave the trial field. I mean, the whole way off the field, Shaka was in a beautiful heel the entire way. They're gonna be a tough team to beat. I mean,
more so, it's gonna be a good. How can I say? It's gonna be a good exchange for the decoys to see a well qualified lower leg dog. We haven't seen a lot.
You don't see a lot of lower
dogs.
leg dogs, but I mean the dog's got a French ring 3, like. And for those of you who do not know, listen, there's dog sports all around the world, and French ring is one of those sports. A very well-established sport historically in the dog world from guess what country? France. And
no, you wouldn't say.
You know, I'm super smart, man. French ring came from France. What's of interest is that, especially when we talk about our European-based sports, each sport is known for prioritizing various elements of behavior, various elements of what's taking place.
Targeting also.
And that ranges from the obedience to the bite work to the overall behavior of the dog. So a French ring dog, generally you're going to see smaller dogs, even though we just got done commenting on Shaka's physique. If we were to compare French ring dogs that came through French ring breeding programs, and that's what they were cultivated for, compared to, let's say, KNPV from Holland, those dogs historically, generally, exceptions to every rule, historically are going to be very different looking. So the KNPV program is very short and it's broken up. So the dog will do the obedience and they get the rest, then they come out and they do the bite work. They don't need a ton of endurance. It's short, come out, do it, boom, boom, boom. Come out, bite, boom, boom, boom. So guess what those dogs are? They're a little bit beefier. They're a little bigger because they don't need to do crazy athletic stuff. In contrast, French ring is a longer program. So from when you come out into the field, you're on the field longer with your dog. The dog has to do more. Now let's look at the bite work itself. And I'm just picking 2 to compare. I'm just comparing KNPV to French ring. The bites, the decoy, the work that the decoy does in KNPV, it's very straightforward. There's not a lot of acrobatics.
It's hammer on both ends.
Yes.
It's a very strong, stout decoy for KNPV.
Which creates a strong dog. French ring, and that's why we're talking about this, because this was a French ring 3 dog. When you get to level 3 in French ring, first off, the decoys, they might be the super athlete ninjas of the dog world, because the pressure they put on the dog is much more athletic. It's much more movement based.
Very finesse, very
fluid. So the pressure they'll put on is what they call the esquive, which is that they're actually continually trying to make the dog miss. Well, that requires a much more athletic, quicker dog. It's a different
Even the
deal.
dynamic in the decoys in itself, very lean, very agile, very in tune with their bodies and the trickery that
they yell parkour in the middle of it. Parkour.
I think most of them are probably titled parkour competitors.
So and that's just some background on that. So when we say, oh my gosh, this is a French ring 3 dog, this is some of the context as to why that is impressive. What do we got now? So
we have Talia and Brago.
Brago. So, and yes, you did see Talia before. She was our first competitor today with her other dog, Ava. So she is trialing 2 dogs today.
And Brago is a very dense Dutchie in itself. If you're seeing it right onto the camera, very large. You can see from the stance compared to Talia. She's been out here. I think she came out a few days prior to the trial, out and about around Plant City, polishing her trial picture. So she is in tune. If anybody's focused, she is focused.
I mean, she came down from New York. That's Not close. I mean,
It's not an overnight trip.
that's where I'm from. Oh, she's from the city. I'm not from New York City. I'm from upstate New York. We're actually getting to see a little bit of prancing now with Brago. And you'll notice different dogs will present different pictures in how they do their focus skill. And I'm going to say, by and large, I believe that like that prancing behavior is often genetic. There's a genetic element to it combined with how it's being taught.
Exactly.
So how it's being taught also combined with the dog's personality, you'll get some dogs that are extra prancy. You get some that are a little bit. Can I just take a time out and comment on how robust that color is on that dog?
It could tow a
That
Mack
rust.
truck.
Look at the
It'll
depth
tow a Mack truck.
of color. So I'm very outspoken in some of my social circles of how much I'm not a brindle guy. And those guys who know me know that I make a lot of jokes about brindle.
Center recall. Let's see the finish. Little bump, but
That dog went straight through the body. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. But I like this brindle because it's that rust.
it's that like
That
burnt
mahogany.
orange. Yes.
Mahogany sounds a little classier than
I like
burnt
that. Yeah, burnt orange just seems like it's something you want to throw away, but mahogany is something that you retain.
Burnt orange sounds
Hands-on.
like you're talking about crayons, man. Mahogany, I'm talking about
I
like
like burnt
premier interior decorating.
Right.
Have
It's a collector's
have
item. Mahogany is like a collector's item. Burnt orange is something that you throw in the trash that you didn't cook well at home.
Didn't they change the crayon name Burnt Sierra because people were wondering like why Sierra was
Why was
smoking
Sierra?
pot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why was she getting burned in the first
Can
place?
anyone confirm, is there still a Burnt Sierra?
That'll be a
Crayon
question for a
in the-
lot of Marines out there. I myself, being a prior service Marine, we are crown eaters.
I
So,
I can't make that joke, you can.
just for context, we don't want.
I'm ready to start putting requests in. I want some Billy Ocean. Like I really think we should. I'm a big
I'll tell you,
80s
I don't know.
fan. Like
Our media guys, that obviously they're managing this live for us. If you guys have a request of a song that you would love to hear in the background, put it in the comments, pin it,
oh my goodness.
and then G and Edmund here will get with the DJ and get your song request in. PG-13. We do have children here today.
It is a family event, folks.
Yeah. We haven't had any night trials yet. Maybe that might change. Disco ball, a little more of an adult crowd, but
I think it'd be a toss-up between disco ball and glow sticks because we have like rave culture
that'll be trippy. That'll be so trippy.
versus disco. I don't know. I'm kind of into both, actually.
Yeah. Glow sticks would be kind of trippy.
Little rave action,
Little
man.
rave.
One thing I am grateful for being, the fact that we can't hear none of the music. Well, you know what? That's probably a good thing because
That means our audio's on.
yeah. Oh, and that's funny because someone just asked, what is the temperature? And that's actually where I was going to go with that conversation that moment. I am very grateful, being that I live in Florida, that we have these Florida trials in February.
In February.
Because you're also based in Florida with
Yeah.
Carnival Canine Florida. Out where are you? Deltona?
Deltona, north of Orlando.
And what area are you servicing pretty
I'll
much?
service the state. Anywhere you got a dog that needs to be trained, we'll figure it out. We'll iron it out. The United States and onward. So
You heard it. But anyone familiar with Florida knows, like, listen, it can get pretty freaking nasty here, especially for dog activities with the heat. And right now we have no sunshine, which,
cloud cover.
this time of year, I would prefer some sunshine because I think it's beautiful. However, it is guaranteeing that we stay comfortable with the temperature. And, I left
The
my
dogs
house,
are gonna perform better.
and, the dogs are going to do better. I wanted to wear a flannel because I love flannels because I'm not a Floridian. And then I woke up this morning, I looked at the weather, and the weather report I looked at said like mid-70s. And I was like, oh, no, I can't wear my flannel. And then I get down here and like, I could rock a flannel right now. I totally could do a flannel. And I'm a little irritated that,
You didn't bring it.
wait, I have a backup in the truck because I have backup
You might have to
flannels.
break, yeah. I said the same thing. I stepped out from this morning to drive down here, and I had a T-shirt on, and I was like, I'm going to throw on one of these summer sweatshirts and call it a day. It's about 70 degrees. We have overcast. There was a little moisture in the air earlier this morning. We got a slight breeze here on the field. Yesterday was hot. 70-something degrees, direct sun.
Yeah, it did. Well, let's not call that hot. That's
Warm.
It's warmer. And something to think about. It's not just about the dogs. Let's think about our decoys, because our decoys are wearing the suit. So, we had some of those California trials, and like
We were cooking.
the decoys are hurting. So, staying hydrated is huge. All right, so who do we have
We have
right now?
Alyssa and
Issa?
Issa?
So, it's pronounced Isa.
Issa.
Now, this is cool, because I told you, like, I'm a fan of, I think dogs are freaking rad. Isa is a 4-year-old black Russian terrier. You do not see many of these dogs, often confused with the giant schnauzer.
Yes.
Very different dog. Very different dog.
I think they both got their hair done this morning. They got bows in the hair, but I love it.
Well, Isa is a retired show dog,
There you go.
and she does a lot with this dog, because they do lure coursing, they do man trailing. Now they're doing bite sports. Now they are based in Colorado.
We have so many handling teams.
How about that?
Out of state. I love it.
Yeah, there was a lot of traveling for this one, which is cool. So this is only a 20-year-old college student out here putting in this work and showing a pretty, I think, a respectable amount of composure for someone as new to this. Like, and again, excuse me. This is a show dog, so they have been out there. They have been in front of people. They have been active. They do stuff, and never mind age, because you can have experience and be young if you just put the time in. Especially if you start young and you get out there, and like really young, and you're out there with dogs. Look at the focus heel on this dog. This is very impressive.
You don't see many of these. It's
No.
being deemed an off-breed in a way.
Yeah, they are.
Within the sport. They're going to their single stack. The handler's going to separate from the dog and then go into its recall portion. I'm really excited to see how this
Those are
goes.
really beautiful heel.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's a whistle recall. She has a whistle around her neck. I don't think that was just for fashion. Dogs are to get primed a little bit. You can see the back end is up.
If that dog had white fur, he's giving off Falcor vibes.
Let me tell you, right? Handler's getting set, getting clearance from the judge.
You got to be an adult to get the Falcor reference. So we have a whistle recall.
Left side approach and around. A little bit of camera. There we go. Good catch.
I believe that was simple confusion.
Yeah.
I do not believe that was disobedience at all. I believe that dog. Yeah, look at the composure the dog has.
Slight confusion. That's all.
Yeah, and listen, folks, we're talking about animals, right? Like living, breathing, thinking, feeling organisms.
Robots.
They're not perfect. This is not a robot. And there are various things that can contribute to a dog doing what Issa just did. And I'm going to say that was confusion. The dog was actively looking for the handler. And the reason why I'm really confident saying that is when she reissued the recall, the dog immediately adjusted and came in and did a beautiful finish, a beautiful recall.
And then still confidence with
Yeah.
the all the way back to
I think that dog just didn't know where she was. I think that's what that was. Now, how is that reflected through judging? Does that play a part? Like, are the judges actually looking for the intent behind the behavior, or are they just simply?
But like you said, it was more so. I mean, we have a lot. We understand we have a lot at these events, right? We have the crowd, we have vehicles going in and out, right? We're on the field. We have suited decoys. We have multiple judges. We have media. Sometimes the translation can get lost between dog and handler, and it's not the sense that the dog is actively looking to bite or disobey. It's kind of like the clarity in the task, right? When you can try to do as much as you can to replicate what a trial picture is going to look like, but you're not going to get to it because you have to be in the trial in order to do it. It's that black and white when it comes to certain dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You try to replicate what you can. So some of that was a little bit of confusion, but again, she held her composure. She gave the dog a few seconds to kind of get out of the funk, And then that immediate recall. One of the comments was that front position.
That front
clip.
position was beautiful,
Nice.
especially when you got a black Russian Terrier with the head side. It's an impressive visual.
And then the sweep right into the
Yeah.
left side heel was nice.
The dog had pigtails too.
I love it.
Dog had pigtails. That was fun. That was cool to watch. And again, you can be a training person, like a training aficionado. You can be really into watching competitive stuff. I also just think dogs are cool. So like looking at getting to see a black Russian Terrier. That's kind of like the highlight of my day. Is I got to see a black Russian Terrier compete. We haven't had.
We're gonna have to have like a bingo board of different breed bingo board.
I think that's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then people maybe can like download it and see if they get bingo. Maybe we can give out some prizes. I don't know. Just a thought. Little AJ.
Playing Michael Jackson. I know you can't hear it, but
Let me take you to the mountains.
our decoy Reggie out there feeling it.
Yeah, Jordan out
Reggie's
there.
feeling it. I saw him feeling it. Oh, Jordan.
Yeah.
All
We're not gonna
right,
have
we'll get into our decoys when we get to bite work. Right now, the spotlight is on the handler dog teams. When we get to bite work, I'll introduce you to all of our awesome decoys.
get a little bit of one-on-one with them. Farouk's on here. What do you say? That's a great idea, Cordy. Tell Mike. Bingo breed board or breed bingo board. Cash prizes. Not cash prizes. How about swag? T-shirts, prowl shirt.
That's a swag situation.
Swag. I like that. Some slaps, some stickers.
Jordan is showing off. He knows how to do that. Like I can't do it.
Oh. There we go. We got the camera on the decoys. Gotta watch out, be like a thriller moment here.
Yeah. PYT was my song suggestion. Well, we got it. All right.
We ultimately have some walkout songs for handlers as the competition leads into the back half of it, so stay tuned for their selections. We have Lauren and Reaper stepping on the field, right side heel.
Now, interesting. Again, not an inexperienced dog. We have a seasoned dog. Reaper actually, PSA 1, narcotics detected and certified, has 10 performance sport dog trials. So, listen, I'm looking to see some of that seasoned handler behavior.
But the handler lingered a little bit behind the prep line, which every handler's afforded the opportunity to kind of follow certain things within regulation, no corrections, things as such. And then we're going to step to the start line and wait for the clearance of the judge. So let's see how they do on this obedience.
Yeah, we have a right side heel.
Yeah.
You don't see right side heel all the time. Farouk and check. I'll take some Ray Allen equipment. Listen, I think this is a great moment to give a
Shout out.
huge shout out, thank you, recognition to the sponsor
One and only.
of this K9 Street League trial number 5, to Ray Allen K9. Listen, Ray Allen, one of the premier providers of all types of dog equipment. And I think it's really important that, and I say this every time, some people think Ray Allen, they just provide like working dog stuff. No, listen, I tell my pet dog owning clients, I send them to Ray Allen all the time because Ray Allen provides quality equipment for dog owners.
Period.
Not just trainers.
Four
It's not
legs,
just
2 ears. They got what you need.
based out of Colorado. This is a domestic company. Like, they are hand making their equipment in Colorado, United States of America. Very grateful and appreciative to have them, of all people, be our sponsor for this event.
And you would think they would have a huge manufacturing building. Let me tell you, there's probably like 10 seamsters that are there, cutting the textiles, stitching the textiles, managing your order. Again, shout out to Matt and the crew over at Ray Allen Manufacturing. They are our yin and yang when it comes to street meat. All right. Not only do they sponsor us, they take care of our decoys, they provide us the discounts, which we do have discount codes for you guys that are watching. We'll put that discount code within the stream for you. Right now we have Lauren and Reaper. They're on the back half of their recall, single stack serpentine. Let's see how they do.
Yes, this is the OB for the entry level. Someone asked in the chat.
Nice,
All right.
clean through
You
the center.
straight to the center, clean finish, attentive on the handler. It's going to be scored well.
Definitely. This is going to be, let me tell you something now, Katie. We usually, for you guys watching, any given street league trial that we've had so far, we have a 70 to 80% attrition rate leading up to the very last scenario. Okay.
Yeah, it comes down to the wire. It comes down to the wire. Hey, why don't you go ahead and explain for everyone just kind of how that works in terms of scoring with obedience and then bite work and what you mean by attrition as far as like why are people falling? How does that work so people can understand?
Phenomenal question. And I get that, we get that a lot here in Street League. So it's a knockout phase. You come in, you don't make it through obedience, that is your stop, right? That's the stop that you get off. You get to enjoy the rest of the event. As we progress through, we go ELOB. All the competitors go through the OB. Then we move on to our first bite scenario, which is the picnic table. Every handler will go through the picnic
That's
table.
two, John. I saw that.
Every handler will go through the picnic table scenario, leading into the bag snatch. The bag snatch goes into the carjacking. Carjacking goes into our final sequence, which is the face attack. As we go through, handlers are scored throughout. Some get knocked out towards the finish. In the previous trials, we've had 2 to 3 that maybe finish and make it to the face attack and then are judged based on scoring on what position that they're going to walk away in. Some of that cash prize that we've been holding on to.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of the more, like today's trial so far, I mean, we're almost done. We have 2 more dogs, right?
Yeah, two more
we have
left.
2 more dogs, and we've only had one
DQ. This is going to get...
That's happened. Usually there's more.
There's usually,
more people fall out of obedience.
100%. It seems basic. As we said, it's an entry level. But the attentive detail, the camaraderie, the connection that you should have between your dog, it's either they make it through, either DQ or there's enough points lost throughout their presentation that they get bumped out. Decoys are taking a moment as we get the next handling team prepped. We have Clay and, how do you say that?
Let's see if they put it.
I apologize, Clay, ahead of time.
Not on my list.
These are the last. So we have Clay and Zako. Clay actually just got certified in the last round of Street League out in Tennessee.
Decoy set?
Decoy set.
Oh, okay.
There was 3 decoys out of that batch that got certified. Clay, Will, and Joe. Joe's based out in Virginia. Clay here is Bebo's other half and lead trainer.
Okay.
And then the last, Bebo's trialing 2 dogs, so he's going to bring out Link. Now, for those that are watching, when we have our own staff or our own decoys or judges trial their dogs, we give a little bit more to them in a sense of presence during the bite work aspect and even OB to ensure that there's no favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
And we hold our guys at a very strict and high standard when it comes to them trying. So here we go. Clay's walking onto the field.
I want to say Zay because the CH.
I think you might be right.
But some people pronounce a CH as cup.
I think it's the initial. The initial.
Zayco or Zaycho?
I think say Zaycho.
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 We'll find out.
Throw a little seasoning on it. So Clay here is active duty military. He also trains on his off time, the remaining time that he has, over at Bedlo's facility out in Tennessee. I mean, these guys are burning the midnight oil.
Beginning their heel to the decoys, and watching the dog's behavior. And you'll see this a lot where you can see a dog that is absolutely being obedient, a dog that's wanting to do the right thing. And sometimes you'll see the dogs, I don't even want to call it foraging because they're not truly foraging, but
it's like when you first learn to drive a stick.
Yeah. It's more like a lurch.
I like that. Yeah, definitely.
These little, it's like a staccato, kind of like a pop, pop. And a lot of that comes from the dogs. The dog is excited too. And it's something that people have to continually remember. The dog knows they're here to do some cool stuff. The dog knows they are here to do an activity that they absolutely love, that they absolutely enjoy. They live for this. And you can also see now that behavior that we initially saw is almost gone.
Round it
So
out.
when they first started, the first movements of the dog on the trial field, first obedience scenario, the dog had a little bit of that, like chomping at the bit, if you will.
Yeah.
Like excited.
Anticipation.
Yes. And that's all but gone right now. The dog has smoothed out, like, okay, I know what we're doing. I understand this. And now the dog is rather smooth in the heel.
Very, very lax. I like it. French ring background on this dog.
Okay.
So we're going to see a lot of that, especially on the bag snatch with those dogs with the French ring background, with their rear guard. And once we get those dogs on field, we'll address some of the details within the rule books and expectations for those that may be transitioning from French ring and want to dabble in street league. Play stepping off for the recall portion of this. Dog is glued to the ground, head on a swivel. Plays getting in position. Turning, standing by for the judge to give him clearance for the recall. Thumbs up. Here we go. Center recall down. Ears up.
I think he said Zako. I don't think he said show. I think it was Cub.
Go.
Dog's trying to find that heel position,
There
and
we
he
go.
finds it. There's a little squirrely in that.
Yeah.
He found it.
It's squared away. Glued. Plays connecting his line. Going to stand by for clearance for the judge to step off once she gets his leash in the position that he favors. And they're going to heel back through the center of those decoys.
Yeah, this dog is unfazed by the presence of the decoy, unfazed by the presence of its favorite biting material. Beautiful heel through that center corridor. Lots of composure from dog and handler. And now they will exit the field.
Awesome job.
I'm telling you, so we have some organic obstacles out here on the field. There's these little clumps of some type of grass, and can you see them out there?
They are.
And like everybody's tripping over them, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're
It's just the added favor.
they're
of
not
this trial
landmines,
field. Yeah.
but they'll put you on your face.
Listen, we like to throw curveballs where we can, when we can, when it comes to this trial competition.
Now, is Bevo going to do the next dog? Because I'm not seeing much rep.
That's a good question.
Let's check. We're going to check in. Are we doing
Are we doing Bebo?
one more dog, or are we? Okay.
Just confirm for our media.
So listen, while we're going to be waiting for the next dog, we should have a trip cam. The trip cam would be interesting if we could get that.
Tally. We need to get it like it's like a tally that goes onto the screen.
How many people we could trip up? What I'd like to know is who's watching right now. If you could go ahead in the chat and just tell us where you're from, because being that Street League is all over the world with clubs all over.
Tell us where you're from.
Oh, look who's in the chat there. That used to be handsome fella, Lone Duck, one of my favorite co-commentators, Bob Owens. Shout out to Bob Owens from Lone Duck.
Listen, I'm just a stand-in, Bob. Don't get frustrated with me.
Hollister, California, check it in. UK, check it in. We have a club in the UK, don't we?
We do. Advanced Canine Working Dogs. James runs that out in Liverpool.
Liverpool.
We're going to be going out there in June to service that area.
I might want to go on that trip.
Okay.
I might want to go because I've been wanting to go to Liverpool.
And we're also going to be out in Barcelona at the end of May.
Morgan Hill, Pennsylvania, Colorado, check it in. Long Island, people from all over Rochester.
I love it.
And that's the thing about Street League is it's bringing people in from all over. That's what we want, right? We want
Maryland,
an organization that no matter where you are, you want to be involved. And now with having clubs all over the world, it's providing the opportunity for people to get involved in this organization.
Developing these hotspots. And for those that are watching, if you're wanting to host an event, doesn't take much. Reach out to the Canine Street League page, to Mike Jones. Send me a DM. Reach out to KD here. We'll get everything orchestrated. We can do everything from a canine handling workshop to a decoy camp to an intro, which is a little little bit of everything. If you're trying to get more punch for your what is it,
More
punch?
bang for your buck.
More bang for your buck, right? And/or mock trial. We're willing to bring the staff, the cadre out there to make sure that you guys have a good foundation and structure to grow within your community, and then ultimately come out here and show your best.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, because this is more up your alley. If a club is just curious,
Mhm.
if a bike club, bike sports club, anywhere out there in the world is curious about Street League, would setting up an intro to Street League trial be a good first step, a
At
good
the
first
seminar?
thing to do? Yes.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because in that case,
Did I say trial? I
You did
did,
say
didn't
trial.
I?
but it's okay.
That was a mistake.
No,
I
it's
shouldn't
okay.
have said
No,
that. I shouldn't have said that.
So it's an intro.
Shame,
Canine, yeah, right.
shame.
Canine Street League intro is going to provide you, like, we'll go over rule book breakdown, tips and tricks, and theory. Kind of like a crawl, walk, run phase. Then we'll sit there and service the handlers and decoys. We'll sometimes separate the groups to make sure the context of what they're getting is as pure as it can be. And then we put those parts together towards the back half of that 3-day weekend event to then show you that those pieces together and how fluid it should be, ultimately replicating what you'll somewhat see here on the trial field.
K9streetleague.com. Fill out the contact page. Hit any of us up on Instagram. Hit K9 Street League's Instagram account. Chris, myself will get you to the right people.
Free to start a club, no charge, no fee associated.
Just your time
And your
soul.
and your passion.
Your soul. You are selling your soul to the dogs and
To
to
the dogs.
committing. Yeah. To the decoys. Smack.
I'm assuming there's a recall.
Yes. Yep. All right. So, coming up to the prep area is again Mr. Bebo Santana. He's trialing 2 dogs today. Now, first we saw Shaka, and now we have Link. Now, I don't have a bio on Link.
French background on Link. One of Bebo's breedings.
Yeah.
You're going to see the same, for the most part, same type of behaviors in the sense of follow through with the obedience that we saw with Shaka with Link here. Bebo burns the midnight oil candle on both ends when it does it. If he's not behind the leash, he's in front of it in a suit.
Yeah, I follow him on social media, and he's always doing something. Like, absolute workhorse. Someone just said, "Where's the bulldog?" There's no bulldogs today.
I know the last trial we had some off breeds. We had some.
Yeah. And those who know me know I am partial to pit bulls. One of my favorite breeds of dogs to work with. You don't see a lot of them. And I mean, I could go down the rabbit hole on that. I won't, but I could. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about the breed and understanding like why some people struggle with them on the field. We haven't seen too many truly high performing examples, but I know that they are competing in other sports. I know that they are rocking in other sports. PSA has had a number, especially in the early years back in the old days, really, really high performing pit bull terriers. All right, so Bebo and Link are up to the starting line. Let's take a look and see how this team goes.
Do you think Bebo is judging himself internally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Probably, is he dinging himself with points like
no, I'm going to say no. If anything, it's just an intensely confident and competitive mindset. And look at the flow of that dog. Look at the healing. Look at the body awareness. Again, Bebo, a seasoned handler, and not just handler, but competitor. Watch that left hand. Watch how he manages the slack in the leash without creating the possibility of any point deductions. Not that that's going to happen. This dog is healing so well that's a non-issue.
our decoys are moving into the single stack for the serpentine?
In the serpentine, like this is a familiar concept in terms of the scenario. A figure 8 is a pretty universal exercise that we see.
And everything.
In
From
all
AK speeding
obedience, yes.
standards to just basic pet obedience.
And one of the key points of the figure eight and why you see it is because it allows the handler to demonstrate a functional heel going two directions. And what I mean by that is when you're making a right-hand turn, the dog must almost follow in a way. Like they're on the outside of the body, right? But then when you make the left-hand turn, you are now turning into the dog. So the dog has to have enough body and spatial awareness
Yes.
to navigate that left turn.
Polarity of magnets.
It's a good analogy.
You know what I mean? The ebbs and flows. You want that consistency.
Not too close, not too
Not
far.
too close. You get more control on an internal turn with the dog, with your body turning in that left-hand turn. If it's left-hand heel, left-hand turn. And it's more external, more on the dog as you make that right-hand heel. You expect that focus and that pickup because the dog's going to have to put a little more emphasis, a little bit more work on their end. To cover and make that.
Here comes the recall. He's going to go wide. And let's check the finish out. We have a very crisp and clean finish.
The judges are here to split hairs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't matter if it goes, I mean, it does, but textbook, what we're asking for is through the center of the decoys. Left or right is fine. So when you recall your dog, and if you do trial your dog, don't freak out. Don't become flustered. You know, push through and get that finish.
Did your dog hold the static stay? Did your dog recall directly without getting too involved with the decoys or involved with them at all, and did they finish properly? Like that's what you need to be thinking about when you're trying to maintain as many points as functionally possible. All right. Heading off the field, and I believe that does it
for ELOB.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks. So here's the deal. We're going to take a time out, charge up phones, do what we need to do. We are going to rejoin you later when we begin the bite work.
So we'll be back in a few minutes. Feel free to continue to drop comments, tag, post, shout out anybody here. Show your support for the handlers that you may be supporting back at home. And we'll see you here in a few minutes.
All right. Take care.